Hi guys, it's Belle here and I'm coming on with a bit of an ephemera make. So it may be the 7th of December, but it is the first day of the secret book at Scissor Lane, part of the wonderful Tracie Fox's Christmas Anthology collaboration. If you don't know, Tracie has created a humongous kit with amazing images, and each the kit itself is split into separate stories. We've just completed one story. We're now beginning the secret book at Scissor Lane story. Please check below for all links and information. It's all going to be in the description box. Please use the hashtag DDAdvent2024 to see what everyone's doing. And the person actually doing today's part of the collaboration is Heavenly Heirlooms. I will link them down below. Please go and check them out. Now, I would have loved to have been doing ephemera for every day in this collaboration with this kit, as I did for Creep on June, but December's busy. There's lots of other things going on, but I did want to come on and do a piece of ephemera for every day in the Scissor book, the secret book at Scissor Lane. The reason being, this is the story that I'm going to be part of the collaboration, and my day comes up tomorrow, the 8th of December. So please do hit subscribe or that notification bell so that you won't miss anything. So yes, I'm going to be doing a piece of ephemera every day. I think there's 6 days, possibly 7. 6 days, I think, in each story. As I said, my official day in the collaboration is tomorrow, but I just wanted to come on and make a piece of ephemera. There's so much in this kit, and I'm only going to work with the bits that's actually in the secret book at Scissor Lane piece of the kit for now. Who knows, maybe later in the month I'll have time to do some bits with some of the other pieces. But I wanted to do this. It's book related. It's a little bit spooky. It's got the CPI in it, which we saw in the Curious Case of Craftly Hall and the Potter's Infirmary case. So this is right up my street. There is this beautiful file folder covered in books. I want to work with this. I've got this vintage Pitman's shorthand book. I love the fact it's got someone's name there. I wish there was a way. It might be that I can pull that off because I want to use it. And I'm just going to back my file folder. I kind of like the fact that this page says contents. And to be honest, this page over here, most of it's going to be covered. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter what's on there, but we're going to get a page anyway. And we're going to cover this file folder and let that settle a bit while we work on some ephemera. Really, it doesn't matter. It's all going to be covered up. But I feel like I want it this way. Actually, let's put the glue on the file folder first. So yes, this kit is humongous. If you haven't seen it or seen any of the people who have created so far, I mean, do check out the links below. And there have been stories that have been created for this kit. I'm trying to work out where that comes to. So I should be able to do it sort of on the edge. So we get I want a little bit of the writing. We'll see. It'll probably all get covered up and there'll probably be no point in me actually doing this. But do you know what? We're just going to go with it. Yes, actual videos telling you the story for each coming week. Oh, it's just so well put together. It's so amazingly done. So if you have not checked any of it out, I highly, highly recommend doing so. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. It is Christmas themed, but every story is going to be different. Like this one. Yes, it's set at Christmas, but, you know, it's a little bit spooky. Only very mildly spooky. But Yes. So I'm going to let that dry just a smidge. I think things are a bit wonky, but that's okay. I'm going to let that dry just a smidge, and we're going to come on. This again is in the kit. I love it. And the first thing we are going to do with it is I'm going to emboss this piece. Now, my inspiration for this in the story, I'm going to use my Distress embossing pen. In the story, there is a lady called Mrs. Norris who has written a book for her granddaughter, Evelyn's Magical Christmas. And to me, we are going to do when the library at Scissor Lane first kind of opened and Mrs. Norris was still quite young. And sorry, I didn't explain what that was then. I'm using the Tim Holtz Vintage Photo Embossing Glaze. And actually, while I'm at it, I'm going to emboss something else as well. So we're going to put that to the side for the moment. Yeah, so this is kind of the beginnings of the library. Where is that lamp that I wanted to use? Here we go. It's a Tiffany lamp. And obviously, we can't have a Tiffany lamp. I'm actually just going to do it in between the metal pieces because I want it to look like the glass that a Tiffany lamp would have had. And with this one, I'm using clear embossing powder. Yeah, so this is when the library first opened and Mrs. Norris has just started working there. Because by the time of the actual story, Mrs. Norris is no longer there. And it's a few years later. So, yeah, this isn't actively linked to the story. There's not as much embossing as I would like, but that's okay. Ooh. I just want to give it a little bit of look like the glass. And this is just completely clear, your everyday clear embossing powder. Now I am going to emboss these, so I will come back and show you what that looks like. Okay, so this is, I'm hoping you can see some of the embossing on there. And this is here. The great thing about the embossing glazes is they give a slight colouring whilst also not, whilst you can still see through it. So that really looks nice and rusty now. And now the next thing I want to do to this, before we start back with the, oh my goodness, where's my craft knife? I have brought a beautiful new kind of wooden storage display box for my craft table, and I'm still getting used to where I've put everything. So as I was saying, what was I saying? Yeah, we're going to trim this. I want it to act almost like the bulldog clip that it is without adding a bulldog clip. Oh my goodness. Right, so I've ripped that. But you know what? It's okay because that's going to be fixable quite easily. So there's no need to panic. I need this bit open. But actually, I'm now going to back this. And I was going to back it with some tea-stained index card. So that will hold the bit that's ripped in place once that is backed. But I thought this would give extra writing space to have the tea-stained index card, and it also gives it more of a file folder feel because it gives it that more solidness to the actual piece. Now here's the thing, obviously we've got this open. I mean, I don't need it open too far. I'm not like, it's not a pocket or anything, but what that means is I need to make sure I don't glue around that opening. So I need to glue, oh gosh, hold on. Opened my new glue and it's very eager to come out. So I'm going to kind of glue around the edges and a little bit in the middle, but not on that bit because I need that still to be able to open. Let's see why in a minute. Let's bring this back. Which side do I like best? Yeah, that's the grungier side, so let's put it on here. Oh, I've glued at the top because I thought I was going to add some to the top. Again, that is not a problem because we have an extra piece that was trimmed off, so I'm going to just glue that on like so, and then I can trim around that. But that now means that that bit that was ripped will now dry. So what I intend to do to this, in fact, let's leave that to dry and then I'll show you. Okay, so we're going to come on and we are going to cut out our file folder now that it's dried enough that I'm hopefully happy with it and can cut it without worrying too much. So yeah, please do check everyone out. Everyone's working so hard and some great makes. I was so anxious in my video, so I'm much more calmer in this one, ironically, because I don't have to worry about, I don't know, expectations and things like that. Not from Tracie or anything like that, just my own expectations and I don't know. Anyway, so check that video out tomorrow. But I'm much calmer today because I'm just, it's not my day, so I can just craft without thinking, oh my goodness, I want to make it the best that I can. That is not very straight, is it? I mean, this is where ink comes in, let's be honest. Let's just be honest with ourselves. Let's round the edges. That's another reason it's good to leave it to dry for a few minutes, because when you try and round when it's still damp, it often doesn't work very well. And let's bring in some walnut stain. Just to go around those edges. One, it grunges it up a little bit and I'm going to ink it anyway. And two, it does mean that any of the white that I didn't quite get is going to then be covered. So yes, the Scissor Lane Grand Library has recently opened and the young Mrs. Norris is loving her new job as librarian. I sound like Scooby-Doo there. Librarian. She's enjoying herself as librarian. Oh my goodness me. I'm going to get my scoreboard out to do this with. Oh, where did the Scooby come from? I mean, I do love... Oh, maybe it's because it's a mystery. The story's a mystery. I do love Scooby-Doo. I actually blame Scooby-Doo. It's one of the things I blame for my absolute love of mysteries and the spooky. Even though in Scooby-Doo it was very rarely ever something supernatural. Which, let's be honest, is a little disappointing. Because I like things to be a little bit spooky. So, I just honestly, I absolutely love this. And I've just realised I wanted to cut something else too. Silly me. So we're going to have to cover something up because I need to cut this. That's okay. It's good for you to see that we make mistakes as well. I mean, it is what it is. You make a mistake, you figure out a way to work it. Don't worry too much. It's just paper, guys. Digitals can be reprinted and, you know, let's not worry ourselves too much about it. So I've got that there. So yeah, I want that open. And I actually wanted this one open too. Good job. I've got another page, well, plenty of pages in that book, so I can actually use another one for this. Might do it up here, but only to here, because I don't want, that's going to have to be a lot smaller, I think. Let's cut along here too. Obviously I'm not cutting right to the ends. Yeah, that'll do. Okay, what I'm now going to do is exactly like I did on the other one. I'm going to cover this up, but I'm only going to glue around the edges so that these are going to be tuck spots and we're still going to be able to tuck something in because we haven't glued them shut. Okay, so you can see I've covered it again on the inside. Right, that needs to be stuck down a little bit more. And then I'll show you that I've still got the pockets on the other side where things will be able to tuck into. I mean, they'll have to be quite small things, but things will be able to tuck into it. Okay, brilliant. So let's now bring, no, we'll do that in a minute. I want this to be a pocket. Look at this. Oh, it really just speaks to my heart. I cannot tell you how much I love books. I mean, really, really love books, love to read. Right, we're going to make this a flip pocket. So we're going to have this here or down here. We're going to do that there. I was going to use my magnets because, again, if I know I've got lots of new subscribers. Hello and welcome. I appreciate every single one of you. Honestly, I can't tell you. I really can't tell you how much it fills my heart with joy when I get new subscribers. It really does mean the world. I know it seems like such a small thing maybe, but putting your creativity out there to, let's face it, be judged is a huge leap of faith, and it takes a lot to do that. So when someone subscribes, it honestly means the world. So thank you so much. But if you are new here, what you won't know yet is that I love to use magnets in my work because I love doing hidden pockets and tuck spots and just extra writing space. I am someone who writes in journals. Right, now I'm going to leave a little bit of a lip on that, and I'll explain why in a minute. I'm someone who writes in journals, so I like always having extra writing space. And I just love using magnets for all of that. I might leave that as well. Okay, but I know lots of people are struggling to find magnets or don't have magnets. So I wanted to make some of these makes, maybe not all of them, because, you know, I love a magnet. I'm going to cut along here without them and show you really easy ways that you can do something similar without a magnet. Now you can see I've still got this extra piece here. The first thing I'm going to do is fold this. I want this to fold inside. It'll give us even more writing space and leave the pocket even sturdier. And that's what that little lip is for too. So I need to also fold this because I need to cut along here as well. I know this seems very complicated. It's not. You don't have to do this. You could just stick the piece of paper down, cut it to size, which I've done many times. But this will then fold over, and it just strengthens your pocket when you're putting things in and out of it. That is not straight at all. That's okay. I'm going to trim that a little bit. So yeah, we're going to stick this down because this is going to be our pocket. So, and then this is going to go in here like so. And I think, firstly, I think I want that straighter. And secondly, I think I want to just rip that a little bit too. I like the torn look, and there's not a lot of teared pieces yet. And we're going to ink all this because can't not ink. I can't not ink. You may not like inking. Each to their own. That is the joy of crafting. Everyone's a little different, but yes. I'm going to ink this up. Ink in this, that bit too. It's going to go like that. That's going to go like that. There seems to be a little lip here. So I'm just going to trim that a little bit. Let's have a look. And then we've got that, which needs to move over a little bit more again. All good. Easily fixed. That's what I love. As I said, it's all just paper, guys. It's all just paper. Okay, so this is going to become our pocket. This is going to become our pocket on the inside of here. I am wondering now, actually, if I want it to be a tuck spot rather than a pocket. And I think I might do that. And I'm going to do it at this side. So I think that's what I'm going to do, is make it a tuck spot rather than a pocket. I just want to be absolutely certain that what I want to put in there will go in there. And if it does, with room to make it a pocket, I may change my mind. But for now, we're going to make it a tuck spot. Which means I really didn't have to strengthen the top like that. But at least you got to see that, just in case that's something you haven't seen before. Oh, I tell you, me and books, guys. I love to read so much. Okay, so one of the ways I would normally put a magnet here to close it, but one of the ways you can easily do it, sorry for shaking the camera, is to get a little paper clip. Now I'm going to use one of the Tim Holtz ones. You really don't have to. Use whatever you've got. I've got lots of different paper clips in here. I want a golden one a bit more. I've got larger ones. You could use, you know, anything. Got all sorts. I've got circular ones. Whatever you've got, you could use these things Tim Holtz has. You could do all that. I want this to be quite flat. So I'm just going to use a little paper clip. And that will literally keep that shut. Okay, we're going to work on this side now because I want to. So what we're going to have is a couple of tags. I've already backed these with tea stain paper. I'm just going to trim them off. And I feel like maybe this is Mrs. Norris's first Christmas in the Grand Library at Scissor Lane. So it's all decorated up. And there's a beautiful young Mrs. Norris looking amazing. I've just realised I think there's red polka dots on her black dress. I like that a lot. Black and red, my two favourite colours. It's a very pretty dress, Mrs. Norris. So maybe she's not even a Mrs. at this point, or maybe she's newly married. Shall we have her newly married? Maybe it's her first Christmas with her husband and at her new job. Oh my gosh, yes, that's what we're going to do. Now this is going to go like this. They're actually going to go on top of each other. This is also in the kit. I want to do it. You'll see what I'm going to do in a minute. I want to do it so that this bit, we don't see any of the white on it, realistically. So what I have to do is I'm just going to bring in my pencil again, and I'm just going to do a line. And we're going to lay it on that line, because the first thing I want to do is, have you guessed? I'm going to ink. And we're going to make this into a pocket as well. So let's get this down, because then we can work on the other bits of it. It's got this beautiful, do you see this, like holly in the background? And I just love these kind of brown colours. So yes. What I love about doing crafts, again, if you're new here, you know, you won't know this about me, but I love making stories as I do it. It helps me kind of see the craft. I love the fact we've got appendix up there, and then we've got the contents page. It helps me see the craft in its entirety in my head. And then I think I want to bring this in, because if you can see, it looks like these are Tim Holtz rub-ons. It looks like a library card. Yeah, it just helps me see. Sometimes, like in tomorrow's video, I already have the complete story fully in my head, and I don't want it all. And that inspires the whole make. But sometimes, as today, I have a rough idea of what the story is, the idea of Mrs. Norris being in the library when it first opened. And then as I'm creating, it kind of comes to life. And that's just how I create. I love having my stories, my creations, everything have a life of their own. I've also got some stamps, and I'm wondering about putting filed or what one? Hold on, because I've got another stamp set here. Catalogue. Oh, we've got to use the word catalogue. That's what we've got to do. Yeah. So I work best when inspired by a story. It probably is my love of books. Art just works better for me. Creations work better for me when there's some kind of inspiration. I want the word catalogue down here. Oh, I don't think I've used this one, so, well, it's come out a bit lighter, but again, I'm not going to worry too much. Okay, that is brilliant. And now what I want to do, this is one of the tags from the kit. Again, it's got all these beautiful books on it, but I want to make this into a pocket, not a pocket, into a journaling card. That's what I want to do. I also want to round the corners on this. I know I haven't even stitched yet. What's going on, guys? Huh? No stitching, no magnets. How can we call this a bell project? It makes no sense. I'll try and fit some stitching in somewhere. But again, I know not everyone's got a sewing machine, and I often say, you know, I love stitching. It's part of my creations. Like a creation doesn't feel completely finished without it. I probably am going to stitch the tags that are going to go on top, which you'll see. But I also understand not everyone has a sewing machine. So I'm trying to just make something that might be more attainable for everyone. Okay, I want to bring in a tab for that. But you know what? I'm not sure what kind of tab I want yet. Could just have a dark green one, because we have some dark green on the books. That looks quite nice, doesn't it? So let's do that. And then I have to work out where I want to put this tab. Because do I want it further down so that it actually sticks out and we see it? I think I do. So I'm going to want it about there, which means I have to work out where this needs to go on here. So I'm going to do that by just putting a bead of glue along there, moving this over, making sure that it's going to fit into my pocket, and then gluing that onto there. Like so. Oh, I love that. A deep rich green. I love those kind of Victorian colours, dark woods, rich greens, deep burgundies. I mean, I just think it's beautiful. Beautiful. We could, because I've already got this cut out, like it's just lying around, so let's use it. We could use another rub-on. I love the Tim Holtz rub-ons. It's another thing I use quite a lot if you're new here. So we're going to do that. Honestly, I think this is more complicated than the project I did. Oh, I'm completely putting that down to nerves. It was my first big collaboration for Tracie. I only joined her design team in after Creep on June. So yeah, this is all kind of new to me. We're not even going to see that. We could see it if it pokes out like that, but we're not actually going to see it. So I went to all that trouble, but we will see it in here, and it's still beautiful like that. So we're going to have that. Now we're going to come to these two beautiful ones, and I think I am going to have to stitch around these, so I'll do that and come back. Okay, so they have been stitched around. I like to stagger where I start and finish my stitching, especially if in this case they are actually going to be going on top of each other. And I saw that appendix and I loved it, and now we're not even going to see it, but that's okay. I actually had a comment on a different video, it was for the Defember, which made a lot of sense, but also I kind of explained. So they had said that in one of my makes they were a little sad that I'd covered up some beautiful pieces of vintage ephemera that I'd put down, that I deliberately picked to go on that piece, and then ended up covering most of it up. And I completely understand. When I started crafting, I would watch other crafters and think, why have you covered that up? No, don't do that. And then with myself, I would also think, right, I can't cover that, I can't cover that, I've used it, I can't cover it. But I realised that what it was doing for me, let's put a eyelet in there. Now, do I want, I've got these beautiful brown ones, do I want to bring in a really dark green to pick up on that other green? That is too bright, that green. Do I want a nice brown metal one? Don't know if that's chunky enough to go all the way through. So let's try and find one that is. Yes, so what I found for myself is when I was constantly trying to not cover things up, I was ending up with pieces that I wasn't happy with. And so the way I now view it is, see, now these are going to open. You will have writing space there, and you will have writing space on the back of there. The way I now see it is that even if something's covered up, it's the act of putting it there that has actually helped inspire me during my creation. Now, that's not for everyone, and some of you may disagree, but that is how I now work. I give myself permission to cover things up, even if I loved them to begin with, even if they're vintage, because it's all part of the story coming alive in my head. Does that make sense? So even if we can barely see it, I know it's there, and it kind of, every single step of it then helps my creative process flow, rather than my creative process being hindered by me thinking, I can't cover that, I can't cover that. But I completely understand how people feel when they see that, because I was just like that. I was like, no, don't cover that up. It's beautiful. It's vintage. What are you doing? But yeah, that's what I found works for me. Everyone has to do what works for them. And I know that piece is there, and it just all falls into place. It's like doing jigsaws, but whilst covering half of the image. I don't know how to explain it, but it's the creative jigsaw that happens for me, that I'm like, okay, that bit may be covered now, but it helped inspire me to move me on to this bit that I need to do. So yeah. Right, I am also going to put an eyelet in here because we have this big white space and I don't like it. And also I just like working with eyelets. It's adding all that texture that I want from a piece. Let's go for this little, oh, I've got this little metal one, that might work. Let's see. No, that wasn't it. This was it. Yeah. So I completely understand what that person was saying, because I was that person when I was creating. But you just have to do what your creative muse kind of inspires you to do. And that's what I have now discovered for myself, how I feel. Now, in here, the reason this is like this, and firstly, that needs to be inked too, is because we are actually going to make this into a little pad of sorts. Almost like she's got these extra papers on this clipboard. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to try and attempt something which probably won't work, but we're going to do it anyway. I'm going to try and attempt to rip these two pieces at the same time. Now you may be thinking, why don't I just use the one piece? It seems a waste. And you're probably right. But I can tea dye more paper, so it's not that big of a problem. And now I can use these pieces too. So we'll have 4 little bits. So do you see what I mean about me loving to add writing space? I'm actually going to trim that. I just love to give ephemera that will give you options. You don't have to put writing space, or you don't have to use these spaces for writing. I love using my journals as memory keeping things. So what I like to do, I want to round the ends of these, is I like to put photos and ephemera, like memory ephemera, like tickets and things like that, into, see how that looks? Oh my goodness. I like that so much. So if you don't want to write, you could put pictures on these pieces of paper. You could put a ticket stub or whatever you want to on these things. I know for me that I like to write on mine and put ephemera, so that's what I'm going to do. I think I want to just do a line of stitching. It may take away from the effect. It may actually take away. Do you know what? I'm not. Who am I today? Oh my goodness me, what has happened? I'm just going to run a bead of glue along here. I don't know who I am. I know there's going to be some of my subscribers who are sitting there going, Pal, where's the magnets? Where's all the what's happening? I don't know, guys. I don't know. We're trying something new. I can't say it's going to stay like this because that would be a lie, because we all know that I need to stitch and I need to use things like magnets. We just know that. But for now, we're trying something new. So that's going to fit under there like so. And then we're going to glue this down. So you see, we fixed the bit that ripped. We sorted out the top bit. It's all come together. I mean, it's all good. I probably am gonna stamp on there. That is going to fit in there. Oh yes, I'm so glad I made that a tuck spot, because it is a bit bigger than the pocket. Love all of that. Now we're going to work on the front, because we haven't even started on the front yet. Now I have this beautiful piece. I think this is the ledger from the story, and we're going to use the rest of this rub-on for here. Yeah, I feel like this is the rest of the story. Yeah, the ledger from the story, but you know, this ledger hasn't been fully filled in yet. Filled in even, not even filled in, filled in. Because, as I said, the library is quite new, so they haven't had time to fill all this in yet. Now, I want to put some fabric behind that. And I have two options. I have some of this kind of Hessian burlap, which I really love because of the grunginess of it. I do really love that. Or I have some of this kind of canvas one, which is flatter. So it would work really well with the flatness, and I can just ink up around the edges. Shall we go with it being a bit flatter? Again, who am I? This is, well, there we go. I normally make very chunky ephemera. But again, sometimes you just try something a bit different. You let this piece speak to you as a crafter, and this piece is speaking to me for what it wants. So that is what I am going with. I'm sure you guys out there understand what I'm saying. Sometimes you're just looking at something going, I don't know what this wants. I don't know what to do with it. But today, this file folder is just very, very talkative, which is fantastic because, you know, it's making my life a lot easier. I'm just going to go over this a little bit in my walnut with my walnut stain to dampen it down, the colour, because it is very bright. And we don't want that. We want the flat, but we don't want the bright. So that's really good. I don't think I've inked around this. And this is going to look stitched. So the first thing I'm going to do, when I say look stitched, it is going to be stitched. I'm going to stitch along this bottom. And I need to do that before putting it on here, because there's going to be a tuck spot in there too. I know, you'll get used to it. And then I'm going to stitch the rest onto here. I'm just looking at this piece that I've got, the 35. That might actually work on there. Okay, so yes, so I'm going to stitch along there separately, and then I'm going to stitch the whole thing to this piece of fabric. Okay, so this time I just used a straight stitch rather than a zigzag. You can see there's still a little opening here. And then this is going to go onto there like so. Where is, let's get this glued on, and then we can make the bit that has to go into this pocket. Make sure this is really glued down. So that I can, it's in there. And let's make sure this is straight-ish, because again, I tend to always stick things at a slight angle and then be staring at it going, oh, I hate that. And again, have I got another piece? I know I cut it down. Yes, yes, I have. I want to bring in the index card, the tea-dyed index card. And I'm just going to make little marks where it could be. And I've deliberately used this one because it was already ripped. So I thought, brilliant. It's already torn, so it'll work brilliant in here. So we've got that. We may need to trim it a bit more. Let's have a look. Oh no, that goes in brilliantly. I'm also going to round the corners. One, I like the look. But two, if you round the corners of things going into, especially little tuck spot places like this, it just means that it makes it easier for it to go in and out. And I'm wondering if I want, like if I want something on here, like just a little number of some sort, I think. Really could do with like a book stamp set, and that's what I could do with, because I think that would work really well for things like this. I don't even know what that would involve really, other than a lot of books and like library card things, maybe book plates. So yeah, just a little bit of interest. It doesn't have to be tons and tons. Let's ink that. Where did, there it is. I put it back in its old place rather than its new place, as you do. And then what I want is, I want this to act as the tuck, the bit that comes out the bottom. So I want something on there. And again, this is where I think Tim Holtz rub-ons can come in really well. Got all these ones half. Oh, we've got the one that just says filed. Let's have that. Okay, brilliant. So I want that kind of half sticking out. I also, before I put this down, this again is very white. So we're just going to go over it, both sides. And then we're going to put the filed on there. I've obviously got that as a stamp as well, but this is just loose in my rub-on set. So let's use it, because these little pieces get lost or they become unstuck and you lose them anyway because you've lost a letter or something. So because they're all kind of just cut up in pieces like that. So I like using them like that. Now I'm going to put this in because again, I kind of need to know where I want this to go. So I'm going to just again put the smallest dab of glue on there. Open this up, making sure that I've got my card. This is a bit fiddly, but it's the best way to kind of get it where I want it. And then I'm going to very carefully use my tweezers to pull this out so that I can then check it and make sure that it gets stuck really well. And what I might do, oh, where did that go to? Might actually use my stapler, even though it's glued. It gives us a bit more interest. And the great thing about staples, guys, if you really don't like the look of them, you can pull them out. Yes, you'll be left with a little hole, but you can fill that up with a piece of paper, a scrap, anything. So like, if I decide I really don't like them, it's not a problem because I can just remove them. So again, don't panic. And then this is another scrap from a piece of Tim Holtz. that I was thinking, oh, I could use that. I think it's from his like ephemera Halloween kind of snippet things, little snippets card. And I won't throw that away because that can be used. And I am thinking about putting it there, the 35, or maybe that way around. What do we think? I like it, so I'm just going to go for it. But I feel like I kind of want to trim the edges a little bit on this bit, which means it might work better that way. No, we're going to do it this way. And we're going to put that on there, and that's another scrap I've then used up. Ba-bum. And you may be thinking, right, Belle, well, you put pockets on the back, and you then emboss that light. What are you doing with it all? Well, I will show you now, once this gets stuck down on here. Does the number 35 mean anything? Maybe not. Maybe it's the number of the street. Maybe that's the section in the library. Oh my goodness. You know, what I wanted to do was bring in the light on here because I feel like you'd have Tiffany reading lamps in this particular library. So I know I don't need any there, although I am going to ink that bit because it might be a bit visible. So I don't want it to be completely visible. And I'm also going to not ink all the way to the top because I don't know how much of the top needs to be glued. And what I like to do is just dab my glue off on my glue book just to make sure. And then I can go back in wherever it needs to be glued to and just do that. Like so. Oh, I like that. And obviously, like I said, it's slightly embossed. So I like that. And then we're going to go to the back where we've got these pockets. And I have these little things that may, because of the size of the pocket, and I really don't want to make them any bigger, they may have to be made a bit shorter. But that's okay. Again, this is a Tim Holtz piece. But again, it looks like a library card. So I want that put definitely in there for now. And then I've got this image. This looks like Mrs. Norris. I wonder if that'll fit in with its thing. No, it definitely needs to be cut. That looks like Mrs. Norris working at her desk for the Christmas period. I might keep the top and bottom, actually. I might do that with the red. I feel like I like that. Let's have a look at it. Yeah, that'll fit in really nicely, actually. And we can make that into, let's cut it down a little bit more. We can make it into a tag. And I'm going to put those to one side for the moment, and I'll tell you why in a minute. And then I've got these two images. Now this image I think is even smaller, maybe, don't know. Oh, I just love this one, but I also really love this one. Let's do this one. Let's just trim this one down because I feel like the other one I might want to use on another project. So I will just trim this one down and see how that looks in there. Oh yes, with the little books coming out and the flat. I love that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to back these with paper. You don't need to see me do that, and then I'll come back. Okay, so I made this one into a tag, which you can see. This one I've made with rounded corners, and then I've added this tab on front, and I've even backed the Tim Holtz piece. There's this in the kit, and I feel like I want that kind of cut along the bottom, and we're just going to glue this onto here as well, onto this tag. Not that we'll see it until it's out of the pocket, but that's okay. And I'm trying to work out what I want to do for the top of this one. I want this there. Library reference. For this one, I'm going to bring in the stapler again. And I want just the tiniest piece of this brown, I think it's seam binding, I want to say. We're going to cut this actually in half, and I will still use that other little scrap. And we're just going to like fray it a little bit. And then I'm just going to add that on top, like so. And get my stapler. It's right there. Why am I reaching to somewhere else? Oh dear me. There we go, like so. We don't have anything on here. I felt like I wanted another tab, but I can't particularly find one that I like. So we do have another brown one. I could use a brown one. And then we can put something on it. And let's do that. Let's really grunge this up a little bit though. Or we just leave it like that. I mean, I don't need a tab on it, do I? That can go in like so. The thing I need to be careful of is I need to put them in like that. And then this one needs something on it. And again, I'm going to pull out my scraps. And I'm going to put... We've got the... I quite like the receipt one. This one here. So we're going to use this one on there. I think that'll go quite well. Let's rub that. These Tim Holt ones are so easy to rub that it's just such a joy that you can literally use anything to hand. If, like me, you're forever putting the actual stick that you're supposed to use away and then can't find them. Actually, it's probably in my storage right in front of me, but there we go. My bone folder will do just as nicely. Oh, it's just so lovely. Now the backs are quite empty, and again, I normally decorate my backs, but there we go. So we've got some stuff in there. Do we feel like that's a bit thingy? We've got that. We have these, and I just want to put them somewhere, I think. Let's put one there. Because it's there. Let's put it this way. This would be easier for me to actually see. Like so. Yeah, I like that. And then we've got two more that I'll have to find somewhere for, but I know that I will. And I'm just looking. So we've got that on there. That's all good. We've got filed. That's all good. We've got these on the back of here. Again, I would normally do something to the backs of them, but they're okay for now. That's obviously got its little pocket that comes in and out for writing space. This opens up. This opens. Then we've got all this writing space in here, which is fabulous. I was wondering about that. That would be far too fiddly. I'm not going to mess about with that. Then behind here, we've obviously got our little notepad, which is brilliant. And we can write on the back. We've got our eyelets. We've got our embossing powder. And then over here, we've got our stamp with the beautiful Mrs. Norris. I really feel like I want something on there too. Don't know what yet. She opens up and we get to see the beautiful library at Christmas. That opens up. We've got all this writing space with the holly. And obviously, as I said, we can write on here and we can write on here. That then all closes back together, making this look more like it's a border. And then in here we've got another card. I feel so weird about not putting things on the back. Like so. So we've got all of this. Now I have to decide if I am going to put something on the back, because things bug me when they don't have at least a little something. I don't know. We may, do you know what I might want on here actually? I'm looking at this Tim Holtz and it's like got the butterfly with the writing. And I feel like that would look quite good on the bottom of there. I mean, we're not going to see it, but I still feel like it would look good. So I want to use that. But I think we'll leave it at that. I don't think, if I add things to the back, I will show you in, not tomorrow's video because that's already been filmed, but one of the other videos. Oh yes, I just like that on there. That's good. That gives that a little bit of interest when you pull that out. Obviously, we've got the vintage contents page there from the Pitman's book. And again, we can hold this closed because obviously it's not holding closed very well. We could have tied some ribbon about it, but you know, why do that? Or that would have been good actually, but obviously I forgot about it. And we do have these larger ones. Now I find with these, a good thing to do with them, because they are quite tight, is to kind of get in between them and just move them a little bit so they've got a bit more space. So they are something you can manipulate to make bigger or smaller depending what you want. And that now fits on there beautifully. Ah, I just love that, guys. I really do love that. So that's my little ephemera file folder make for day 1 of, well, it's day 7 of the Christmas anthology, but day 1 of the secret book at Scissor Lane. And I have been inspired by the idea of Mrs. Norris's first Christmas, both as a wife and as a librarian, and all these lovely books, and they're putting everything together, and that's what inspired this. Once again, please check out all the links down below. Don't forget to check out today's creator for the collaboration, who is Heavenly Heirlooms. I will leave their channel linked below. Please go and see what they did. This is their official day, if you haven't already. And then don't forget that it is my day tomorrow, day 8 in the collaboration, where the video is a lot more chaotic and nervous. But please do check that out. And again, thank you so much for watching. Please do like and subscribe and comment if you haven't already. I always love talking to you guys in the comments below. And wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having lots and lots of crafty fun. Bye for now.